Let's go into the second session of the Railway Room, where we want to go a little bit more in detail for our next session, for our next project. As you know, these are our sessions. We are now in the session 2. These are the speakers. We are, I think, who is online? Dieter is online, Chi is online, and Andreas is online, and Guy Etienne and me are here in Montreal. So let's go into the part 2 of our presentation here. Well, a short some slides we have shown before in the first one, but only to keep you on track. Then we go to the IFC 4.rail for rail project overview, applying IFC 4.3 for rail project overview, and to the next steps. Well, you know this slide. We are here. We are already. We have already started the IFC rail project, the applying IFC 4.3 for rail project. The final ISO standard IFC 4.rail, harmonized with the infrastructure and of course building and so on, is already in the ISO process, which will be finished hopefully mid next year. As you know, these are the deliverables from phase 1 and the deliverables from phase 2. So a lot of work has been done, and to show that this is and this will be now in the IFC 4.3 standard, and to show that this standard works, we have done a lot of testing, and this part of the project should show that it could also be implemented into software. So because a standard which is not used or which is not implemented, let's say so, is not used, and it's a dead standard. And that's what we do not want after 5 years hard work for the rail department. Yes, I've shown you already also this slide only to keep you on track. On the left side, you see the model of the IFC structure as you can find it. I think from 2.4 on, I think there are a few changes, and now we have extended it with the rail stuff. Yeah, again, we do not. We want to be as practical as possible, so we do not act with some theoretical things. We go into the practice of the daily life of a rail infrastructure manager. So you see here some business cases, and we called it storylines from the Chinese part, the building new high-speed lines, down to maintaining rails like the Austrian project part of tamping machines and everything between it. So you know, we have had a lot of testing and there was a lot of prototype implementations, let's say so, or only pilots to show it is everything possible, but now it's about to have a functional software. Yeah, so that's it. We have the requirements, we have the standard, and now we are going to the implementation or application in the applying IFC 4.3 for rail project. And now I think I hand over. No, not now. Okay, so what is expected for this project part? Well, we need to document everything, IFC files as deliverables. We have a functional software that supports this, the BIM functions and BIM authoring and so on in that storylines. contribution to we needed also a contribution to define the main processes. We need to go further in a qualified software. At the end, validation rules, because we cannot, we are obliged to have a clear and quality safe a product at the end. Yeah, implementation. We have a talk to our stakeholders, and we talked about at least two of this use cases we should implement. At the end, we are at 3, so we have 3 business cases there. Okay, then we go to the second point, the project overview. So this was the background, and then let's go further. And I think this will be for Dieter. Dieter?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Please, Dieter, go on.
Hello again from Switzerland. And first, on a personal note, I'm very happy to see the colleagues from phase 1 and 2 from all over the world, from China, from Italy, from Austria, at least in the hybrid mode, joining the session. And a warm welcome to you, and happy to see you virtually again, and hope we have an occasion soon to meet in person, latest at the next summit in Rome. Yes, now at the successful end of phase 2, it was all about how do we bring the standard to life? How can we support this? And thanks to our super loyal stakeholders and partners, yes, they were up to go for the next phase and to set up a project where we can support and basically benefit from the fruitful cooperation we had established with the software vendors. So this applying IFC 4.3 for rail, as the name tells you, is all about implementing, supporting the implementation of the standard within the software packages, and bringing that to life. So we in long discussions, and I think it was almost a year, where we had very intense discussions with our stakeholders on the specific details of the project and deliverables of the project. We finally agreed on a project plan and a project scope. I would like to sketch out here. It is clear that the projects basically got 2 streams of work. So one stream is about the processes, and it was very clear that there is a framework of methods and rules required within that framework, where the further development of the implementation should take place. And that's called the work package 2, the solutions ecosystem. Here, as I said, we go for methods and rules framework for the development. And then it starts with a very natural question where clients express, as you can read here, express their need. And in order, after the project, they should be able to have a set of rules and requirements to formulate a request in a tender, in a contract with their partners, and on one hand, and on the other hand, their software partners are able to understand this and to validate that, and to see how they can answer that question, so that basically both parties talk the same language. And this always needs a close development. And and so in work package 4 here, we take this plain language and specify the requirements and using formal rules, and create tests and define those rules. And then it comes to work package 5, as I said, to the close collaboration with the software vendors, where it's actually about implementation. And after implementation, there is, of course, a need for the validation. And then we hopefully, or we're sure, we have the result, as I said earlier, and have the validated test results. Next, please. So as I said, the project goals are basically twofold. First, the process work, where we have these methodology framework, and second, the content work, where we conduct those use cases, those business cases, which we talk later on in this session. And here you can also see a short overview about the project goals. Okay, I think with that, I hand back to one of my colleagues for more details. Guy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dieter. In terms of organization, what the one we put it in place is, as you can see, we have the Railway Room Steering Committee, and our president is Winfried. He's also the Project Steering Committee president, of course, at the moment. We have a PMO team which is organized by Dieter as a project director. And she, Andreas, and myself are part of this activity of coordination. And we have also Evandro Alfieri, who is part of this project, mainly for Work Package 2, as it was described by Dieter, in terms of defining instructions and templates for the various phases we have in order to test the use cases. So Work Package 2 is the one to define, to establish the process, documentation, in order to be able, at the end, to have such documentation available for other rooms, because our objective is not to work only for railway. And as I said previously, railway, it's not only rail. We have infra works, bridges, and so on in railway projects. So we need also to interface with all, and we need to have a common process. So this one is organized by Evandro. The 4 work packages from work package 3 to 6 are the steps you should find everywhere. So first step is to define the business case, to define the use cases we want to test. The second one, the work package 4, is the one where we define the criteria we want to test, the result we expect to get. The 5, we involve the software vendors in order to implement the work, in order to get some result and make sure that it satisfies also railway experts at the end. And the validation is the one, of course, validating all what we have carried out, and mainly also issue reports and documentation for the final process. At each step, we'll have a feedback to work package 2 in order to be able that our instruction is not only the one issued previously by this work package, it's also to test. And when we are a research and development process, agile system, you need to feedback every time the documentation, because you may find some issues, you may find some difficulties, and our objective is to have a complete process tested. We have, as you participated to the part 1, we have 3 business cases. Each one is organized with a team, specific team, where you have a business case leader, technical experts, modelers, and railway domain experts, of course, but also software vendors dedicated to some of the business cases. Because we know that, for example, some of them will be more interested in one business case and maybe not the others, and so on. So the objective is to have an open discussion and work on that. So each business case will go through the 4 packages from 3 to 6. Here, in this one, you have the names of the, I should say, the leaders we define in each work package. So Evandro for the one as is BSI to maintain or to structure final documentation for BSI, because we are not working for IFC-Rail, we are working for BSI, of course, and it's very crucial to provide all this information. And after, we have various leaders, like myself for work package 3, Andreas number 4, Evandro again for number 5, because in phase 2, we had the similar works, activities, and Evandro was in charge of the implementer forum, which will be the future, I should say, center of all software activities in order to exchange, share information, in order to be sure that we are not working in software specific mind. We want to have an open source information. And the validation, because that is a final way to demonstrate that certification activities is based on a clear process, certified process, and so on. And that will be Etienne, he is here, the leader of this activity. On the left side, you have the business case leaders. These business case leaders are from the stakeholders. Our objective is every time to stick with the business, so to stick with the railway companies, either engineering or like myself, Sestra, but also like OBB or the Austrian or the Swiss SBB and the others. And it's very important. So for the first business case, Model Federation, it's Santo Mercedes from SBB. We have also Palma from RFI. So every time we have co-leaders in order to be able to integrate the international aspect and consensus, because we don't want to have a one-mind orientation. We want to be international and to keep this aspect. For business case number 2, it's stationing. We have somebody from RFI, Anna Maria, and Zhang from CRBeam, so from the Chinese team. For cabling, which is really more focused for railway at the moment, but in fact, every room from BSI is interested by cabling, because even in building, you have a lot of cabling, even on road, bridges, tunnels, and so on. But we are focusing because we have maybe some specific requirements, like, for example, for energy, because it's quite strong energy for catenary, and all this information, or redundancy for signaling, because it's a safety, and as you know, railway, every time safety is really a key issue of railway. So we have Vincent Keller from MIND, so it's a French sector, railway sector, research institute. Giovanni from RFI and Zhang from CRBeam. Within these teams, all the stakeholders are part of it, so, and all are participating or will be involved during this test. In addition, not only for rail domains experts, but also for technical experts, because we hope that each company is developing its own knowledge. And as you know, it's knowledge we need to spread around. It's not only to keep it in this, I should say, community, it's also to provide it to other people, either engineering companies, but also for construction companies, and also for internal railway owners, for example, because it's a new technology, it's a new way to discuss, to exchange data. In terms of timeline, schedule, the first part was in 2022 to define the process. It's what we did. We are still doing it because it's an iterative process. Every time we have a new information, we have to integrate it. Requirements, it's to define the business case. It was the first step, to determine the requirements from a railway expert, but also for software vendors, in order to be able to define the use cases which will be used by the software vendors, but satisfying also the railway engineers. Implementation, it should be starting soon because when we have defined and we know what we want to do and what to do, criteria and so on, we'll start the implementation with the software vendors, and it's for that we have a specific presentation tomorrow morning on each business case, and we will attract, we'll go within the room over there where all the software vendors are. We'll attract them here in order to be sure they will understand what we want to do for that, because we need to have the software vendors to do this activity. And the validation, the objective is to be able to, in beginning of 2023, to produce documentation and validation report, and also the instruction and templates, typical one for the whole steps. And we hope, it's not we hope, we are sure that we will present you in Roma the result we have, and as we did it for phase 2, we are sure we will succeed. The difficulty is only to be sure that we have all software vendors with us. We know that we have stakeholders supporting us. So if you know somebody from the software vendors, do not hesitate to push them tomorrow to come here in order to understand what we need from them and what we want to share with them. As I said, we will test 3 business cases. It was over 9 which were submitting at the beginning of this phase by the stakeholders. They presented what they wanted, and we defined these 3 1. Etienne will detail why, as a stakeholder, they were selected, and these were 9 over the 38, because we had 38 use cases defined in phase 1, and it's a hard work to every time to be more and more specific, more and more detailed, and we succeeded to define this 3 1. Originally, we decided to have only 2, so we're still doing more than what we expected. But IFC model federation is very large. Stationing, as you know, for all large project, infrastructure project, it's a key issue. And cabling, because it's a real multidisciplinary activity, and it's quite often left on site in terms of interface, because it seems very simple every time, but every time we know that there's issues on this subject. Andreas, maybe you can express or you can detail each business case if you are online.
Yes, hello, Guy. I'm
Yes.
online. I just have to organize my screen a little bit. Give me a few seconds. So we're talking about business case 1, IFC model federation.
When you, Andreas, when you want to change, tell me. I will press the button. I can do it.
Yeah, I think we can manage. Before we do this, maybe a short note about the wording. This is now called a business case. The reason is that we here try to express the business aspects of this area of future test cases, whereas the term use case, which is also very often used, has a strong meaning in several communities in the IT world, and we want to avoid misunderstandings. Yeah? And these business cases, if we have here, are first analyzed by the domain experts, trying to express it in verbal and in a semi-formal way, which will allow in the future other domain experts, which will have to implement it because the company decides to do this, whatever country, to use existing IT knowledge in this terminology. So this was a short remark on the terminology business case. And as I said, it's about the requirements of the people who are going to use it, but it's already also structured according to the IFC vocabulary. The IFC vocabulary is very large. We do have these many entities, and already in the past and also now in the new parts in 4.3, those many entities are organized in some specific fields of interest, and the fields of interest which will be investigated in IFC Model Federation is how to organize an model in general to allow participation by different persons, by different groups inside a company, by groups outside of the company, there's appointed parties, your service providers. And here we want to look into best practices to support all this for the rail business specifically, but as I mentioned in the last talk also, for the linear infrastructure business in general. So something we will do here will also be checked and discussed with our colleagues from the IFC Road area, IFC Road project. Excuse me, can you go back a little bit? Georeferencing, here where the big issue is to connect the surveying world, to connect the people doing projected coordinate planning and mapping with the 3D BIM world. Spatial structure, as already mentioned in the session before, will be very flexible inside the rail business, but nevertheless, I think that there will be several few combinations which will be very common, and this also has to be analyzed. Alignment is the core part of linear infrastructure, stands for itself. Linear positioning is how to document assets in reference to such alignments, and the integration of the, I would say, classical BIM world, the vertical BIM models in the building area, and the new parts coming up, open beam for bridge, open beam for tunnel, now categorized as the vertical BIM models. Plus, of course, we do have level crossings, we have bridges with roads, the integration of road models if necessary. And you see there are many aspects of this, and quite a few of them will be shown as an example using data exchanges. And if you may go on to the next slide, will then be structured in data exchanges. And for each of these data exchanges, we will have test cases. And these test cases will specifically look into the organization of work inside the companies, in the organization of work between service providers and the companies, and between service providers and service providers. Okay, if we move on, next one. The same principle applies to stationing on alignment. This is a core topic for every linear infrastructure project, and of course also for rail. And here the situation in every company is that they have a big number, a very large number of legacy systems. In almost all of those legacy systems, the positioning information is documented using stationing and mileage in reference to a line, and in the IFC context, behind each line, behind each track of a railway system, in the future there will be an alignment. So to introduce these traditional railway addresses into the 3D modeling world for linear infrastructure, stationing and mileage has to be properly connected to alignment. And as you see here, we ask for bidirectional translation between the stationing values, also mileage, kilometer, or whatever word is used in the specific regulation, and the beam locations, the 3D modeling. And as is stated here, this business case indeed applies to all rail domains. And I would again try to point out that in my opinion, this business case also applies to all the linear infrastructure domains, road, bridge, and tunnels, very much the same. Okay, let's move on. Here you see already first modelings, model results. In our process, we try to have a very easy to understand, formalized way of expressing the dynamic situation process-wise. We see here the BPMN, and this is the basis for then further analysis and doing further modeling. Okay, next one. Cabling, railway infrastructure. Here the focus is the cabling system itself and the cable laying infrastructure, cable ducts, the manholes, junction boxes, all these kind of things. And also trying to provide a basis for functional modeling, meaning to allow in the future the modeling of the function of a specific cable, or better to say of a specific fiber of an fiber optical cable, or a part of an copper cable. And this then again is the basis, in my understanding, for building larger building blocks. Yeah. The interlocking system is made of switches, is made of signaling, does address switch engines, tells the switch how to set each self, is connecting it to the very important technical rooms inside the rail business. So I think it was a very wise decision of our stakeholders to make this business case one of the three of the first areas we're going to investigate. Okay, I think we do have a second slide for this. Yeah, here are some examples what is what we have to take into consideration when talking about cabling. What might be quite interesting is that we have to deal with business processes, existing business processes, which will not change because of BIM, which are using a tabular description, which are using a schematic description, and which will be a challenge for everybody in the industry who is introducing BIM into these existing processes. Okay, I think that was that. Okay.
Yeah, I take the following slide. So thank you for this very comprehensive explanation about the use cases. This slide is just to tell you why we choose, why the stakeholders selected these three ones. First, because it's the first step. These three ones are definitely not enough for what we have to do in the railway domain. So we had this applying for IFC 4.3 for rail launching this year. It's a one-year program, and what we would like to achieve is to test the entire process that will be explained by Xi just after in few business cases. So we choose first three cases that were very suitable for the railway stakeholders. Second, we have a list that is larger than this one. We had, and Guy mentioned it just before, we had far more than 3. What we would like also is to, when we choose these 3 use cases, we would like to be able to extend it to other rooms, as it has been mentioned, rooms or domains like the infrastructure and the building for the first one, because federation of models is something that we have in every domains of the engineering and architecture and construction. The second one, the stationing, is something that would be, and it has been also mentioned by Guy before, it will be very useful for the roadway as well. So we think that everything we learn during this year will be something that will be useful for the roadway also. And the last, the cabling and the cable routing is definitely something that is not only useful for the railway and can be applied in other domains. So again, the keyword here is to, when we make this short list of 3 business case, the idea was to validate the entire process that will be very detailed just after by Xi, to be able to extend it or scale it to another domain, and like that demonstrate the value of being able to capture the requirements from the stakeholders till the implementation of it with the software vendor. And that's what we do within the applying for IFC for the 3 for rail. I don't have the, thank you. Another slide, just more focused on the stakeholders, and it gives me the opportunity to thank warmly the different contributors we have from the different transport agency and engineering firms that are working hard in this project in kinds, and thank you for that. So we had some names at the beginning of this second part on the head of the different resources we have in this project in kinds. We have the full list of the participants that are in the screen, and a big thank you to all of the stakeholders that are participating very hard in this program. And okay, and I will leave the floor to Xi. Perhaps you can open the mic again now, because I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Just to the rest. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me, right? Okay. Okay, it's Xi again. That's the broadcasting from Switzerland. So the yeah, well, I'm going to present this project method. So before we really go into detail about this project method, just some background. As Guy just presented, the work package 2 of this project, named Echo Solutions, that is the work package about the project method. So this project method is actually by itself is the deliverable of this project. So we define this project, this method together with the buildingSMART, because we would like to align to buildingSMART strategy as much as possible. And we also just for this process, for this project method, we have received many requirements, and some of them we think are also challenges from stakeholders, that we need to make this a formal method from the very beginning, when users can define requirements, to the end, that we can make automatic checking and also validation for the IFC files. Yeah, so that's the that is the background. Then we have worked together with buildingSMART management office, and then we defined, at the moment I would say drafted this project method. So we have a 5 steps approach. So the first step is about this business case overview. So we define, let stakeholders to write down the purpose of this business case, and also give an overview, the scope of each business case. And then we have a step 2 about the business case formalization. So it basically defines a process map of business case, and then also make use case diagrams to define what are needed in general in each business case. And so the step 3 is a requirement definition. So the requirement definition is we need to specify the requirements. We have 3 types of requirements. We can see the details in the next slide. So the 3 kinds of requirements is like we have the requirements for contracts. That means the users or stakeholders, railway companies can write down this kind of requirements. Okay, I think it's okay. We can keep stay in the previous slide. Yeah. So we can write down this requirements in the contracts, and then the second type is the requirements in IFC. So we need to make this kind of requirements translated used to IFC vocabulary. And then the third part is that we also would like to define the required software features. So these requirements are not only about the data exchange, but also about some required software features. So the step 4 is about test cases. So, and also software implementation. So we need to define test cases and also provide data sets. Then we also would like to work on this newly developed buildingSMART validation system to define Gherkin validation rules and also IDS BSDD rules. I think Leon presented this yesterday in the general session. And then the step 5 is about validation. So basically, we would like to, based on this BSI validation system, and maybe together with some other approaches, to validate the produced IFC files from software vendors. Okay. Next. Okay. So I'm not sure whether this is really readable or not, but for this method, we tried to make a meta model for this method. So from the top left is like is a business case. So for each business case, we would define the process map, and then for also provide the business case data set. And based on the process map, we will define the user story and the use case diagrams. And then based on each use case in the use case diagram, we will define the requirements. In step 3, we define these requirements. And yeah, as I said just now, we have 3 kinds of requirements. Yeah, and based on the requirements, we will define the test cases. And in the test cases, we'll have a formal rules, which means the rules that can be processed by software to automatically check IFC files, and also criteria. So criteria are considered as informal rules that many use to, for example, manually check in the import capability of one software, or to check whether some general functionality can be supported by some software or not. And then, yeah, for each test case, of course, we need to provide. We will provide a test data set, and some of them we will provide a reference IFC 4.3 files. Then we would expect the software vendors to implement based on these test cases. So basically, provide IFC 4.3 files, or provide some other evidence of implementation by request. And then based on this process, we will have this the very last part in step 5 is to have a validation report. So then each business case has one validation report. So that is the meta model, and the meta conceptual model, actually, the conceptual meta model for this method. Okay, next. Yes. Yeah, we actually expect that, well, as what we see currently, among these three business cases, there will be a lot of requirements that are redundant, and we cannot really define these requirements, I mean, independently by each business case. So we have to have some coordination in between. This is in order to keep the consistency among business cases. Also, it will later on help us to do the further development, like define test cases, and also to implement the rules in this BSI validation system. Yeah, so we define this kind of approach. So we have these three business cases, and then we have a requirement specification, which is kind of a common repository that maintain all different kinds of requirements. And then this requirements is linked to test cases in GitHub, and also linked to the rules in this BSI validation system, also which is also maintained in a GitHub repository. Yeah, so all the things are linked, and also you will use this kind of ways to ensure traceability from business requirements to implementation and validation. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, this is just one example how we make it, because a lot of information are actually managed in Enterprise Architecture, and if there's something outside of Enterprise Architecture, we will maintain the links within Enterprise Architect. For example, some GitHub links. So we use this kind of ways. From a process map, we can link to use case diagram, and then in the use case diagram, we can link to this. Third one is this requirement diagram, and then in the requirement diagram, each requirement will link to this test cases, and then test cases will link to this GitHub repository. Okay, next. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we have the next step is about about what is the next step. So next step is like we really think that it's time now for software vendors to participate and be a part of our project. Well, I'm Chinese, so I actually want to share some Chinese culture here. In China, we actually have an idiom. It's called 三缺一, which literally means three missing one. That means that's actually from the Chinese card game. It's kind of like card game. It's called mahjong, which must be played by 4 people. So if there are already 3 people already, we usually use this kind of way to say 3 missing 1 to convince the next person to join. So we really hope that we will get, now we have this business case leaders ready, and we have domain experts ready, we have technical services ready. So we hope to really onboard software vendors to join us to play this game together. Yeah, so that's, and what you can expect, I'm not sure whether there are software vendors in the room or software vendors online, because I cannot really see the list of people, but I would expect that there are some. So if we go to the next slide. Yeah, so what you can expect as a software vendor. So from content point of view, you could expect some material and conversation on these prioritized railway business cases and use cases, requirements and test cases. And you will also get the stakeholders' time to collect the input and feedback. And yeah, you would also be visible in the railway industry. So we would know you, we would know the progress of your work. That will also help us to manage how we cooperate with software vendors later on. And regarding processes, well, I think you would also learn more about how railway domain processes to specify requirements from the very beginning. And also, I think it's also quite important that we will have the test run of this buildingSMART validation service. because buildingSMART, I think buildingSMART is going to make this BSI validation service as the future software certification service. So in this project, we plan to support this validation service and also together work with BSI to further improve this validation service. So if you join our project, you will be the early bird to use this validation service, and also I guess it will simplify your simplify the certification process for your software at all. Okay. Yeah. So if you are interested and would like to join or simply want some information, that's all fine. We have this website set up for this project, so you can simply subscribe it. Yeah, leave your name, your email, your company. Then once we have collected a list of vendors, we will come back to you and we will define the next step of how we.
Okay, Chief, thank you very much. I think I'll take over now. So all what Chi has said now is we have a web page at the buildingSMART homepage here for the project, and you can find there all the informations needed. Yeah. Okay. So a deeper step into the project, into the business cases, would be very much interested for software vendors, of course. So we will try then to get some in the room tomorrow in the morning session. I think we will invite we will invite on Hopin or something like that. Yeah. So when you're going around the site, tell the software vendors tomorrow at 9 there will be a good opportunity to have a deep insight of the next steps of the railway project. So yeah, thank you again. The speakers say yes and thank you for your time, and I think we are a little bit. I think we are ready so far. So it's a half an hour early. So if you can take your time, use it carefully. But I think it's fine, isn't it? Are there any questions? Are there any questions online? So we are reading the chat. If you like to post a comment in the chat, we can do that. No questions. So then let's finish. Yeah, thank you very much. Indeed.
Thank you.